people seen in college since Elway, then Jameis Winston is right up against him only with character issues. Nobody I've seen in the last 30 years compares to Elway, Luck, and Winston. And Winston is this kind of great prospect in that he can read the field, deliver the ball accurately, on time, with pace, with the proper arm angle. He can evade, not run. He can evade, or if he has to scramble, run for a first down, he can. So if they can do that to a player like Jameis Winston and a defending national champion like Florida State, they can certainly do it to anybody else. So the thing that scares me about Oregon is the pace of what they do. But if Ohio State, like I said, shoots their regular and scores their 40, 50 points, they'll be all right.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, too. Both of these teams should be in great condition there. I mentioned it before this week. They both practice against it every day. So for anybody that thinks that one squad's going to come in better shape, Dan Wismar made that point about Alabama the other day, how they're used to, not always, but in the majority of the occasions when they take the field, they've got the biggest, the strongest. They've got the pick of the litter for the most part athletically on their team. And I think that surprised them when they got out there against the Buckeyes and said, hey, wait a minute, man, these guys are right there with us. But conditioning, I think that'll be something there. Both of these teams used to being, able to do that on a regular basis, and maybe perhaps their opponent not prepared. But that won't be the case here. Both teams are used to it, able to practice against it every day. So I think they'll both be in condition. I don't think you'll see the Buckeyes wear out or the Ducks. I don't think so either way, but that'll be an interesting thing to see too in the second half if they're both staying strong or if one team fades as well. But I think that practicing against it every day gives both teams a season full of, preparation for that pace.
I think the difference will be in this game, the defensive line of Ohio State has the ability to impose its will on any style offense. It's just a question of where is Joey Bosa, Michael Bennett, the rest of that, Steve Miller, the rest of that defensive line on Monday. Are they amped up and ready to play? If they are, that makes the linebackers more effective. And as you know, that makes the defenders and the back end more effective. That puts everything in a different light if they're winning the battle at the line of scrimmage. And I'm not seeing them get beat once in a game along the line of scrimmage against anybody. And I would suspect, and listen, they beat Alabama along the line of scrimmage, both of them. So I suspect that this defense will acquit itself well, especially the line, which will harass Mariota, and they can't let him squeak out and leak out and escape downfield for those 20, 30-yard runs, those third down and longs that he converts into first downs by running. They have to shut down the lanes, stay in their lanes, provide hits that, stops him or anybody from squeaking through. And if they do that, I think Ohio State, like I said, has a chance to not only win, but to be the best team on the field for the third straight game against a very high level of opponent and win the national championship for the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yep, and that would make the third straight Heisman guy there as well. A couple of big individual guys they've had to deal with, team efforts. It's going to be a lot of fun come Monday night. And, again, man, it'll be interesting to see how it goes down. Interesting to see.
Let me just throw this in. I just want to say this real quick. I was looking at the game again, and I thought this when I watched the game on Monday night, I believe it was, or whenever it was, that I watched the game when the game was live. I said this before Alabama and Ohio State. I said that it seemed to me that Ohio State's third-string quarterback was better than Alabama's first-string quarterback, and it certainly played out that way. And so now they're talking about, Cardale is not going to be able to outplay Marcus Mariota. I think he will be able to because of his natural gifts of accuracy, his timing, the way he looks at the field, the way the ball comes out. He's a better quarterback, and he's a better pro prospect in my mind than Marcus Mariota. So we'll have to see, but I thought it was interesting that the third-string quarterback for Ohio State is better than the first-string quarterback of Alabama, and I'm glad I said that.
The third-string quarterback for Ohio State may be better than any string quarterback for the Cleveland Browns at this point, my friend. Man, I'll tell you what, man. But I'm with you. You know what? Cardell's got a chip on his shoulder about that, too. I was mentioning it earlier this week. He tweeted out a picture of himself. It just said third-string quarterback. And I'm like, yeah, good. Have that chip on your shoulder coming into this game. Go show the world what a third-string quarterback you are on Monday, you know? Go represent Cleveland, baby. Go make it happen.
Right, exactly.
You're listening to the Sports Fix as we roll into hour 2. J-Rock talking to the BSK Kendall Lewis. We're talking a little Bucks and Ducks coming up on Monday. Let me shift gears. I know some other things going on here. Obviously, whatever is what. Without, see, we go too crazy talking about the Browns. We can just devolve into this thing. But just in a nutshell, you know what's going on this week. You and I, in a lot of ways, on the same page when it comes to especially when it comes to Johnny Manziel. I said it in the last segment with JK before we brought you on that I think at the end of the day, when the big picture's written down the road, that the drafting of Johnny Manziel will be one of the bigger franchise screw-ups in Browns history because it's going to have so many down-the-line reverberations. You've already seen it affect a lot of ways one season. It's affected the coaching staff. It's going to continue to affect the coaching staff because this is most likely going to lead to Mike Pettin probably end up losing his job down the road here. And where are you at with this situation now, especially when it looked like the Browns, maybe they got issues with players, but at least the coaching staff was going to come back intact and there were going to be a little bit of stability?
I would say the Browns are, in one way they're in a good place because they've not been 7-9 for years. And while it is sad that we're looking to 7-9 and looking at progress instead of, looking at wins, it's true that they are a better team than they've been at any point during their renaissance. We got that in the pocket. The other thing is, and it affects and colors everything they do, everything. About a year ago, I did a broadcast, and I talked about the steps to building a good football organization. The Browns, since the beginning in 1999, have not followed any of the logical steps to build a good football franchise. I don't care who the players are; they're not going to be optimal unless you build a culture and put players in. And so I think the Browns need help in that they need to put together a culture and a condition and a climate for greatness. In other words, you can get Jameis Winston all you want, but if he doesn't have the coaching, the direction, the philosophy, the organizational imperative behind all of that, he's not going to be any better than he is playing in a sandlot anywhere. And it's the same thing with every position. So when you're hoping to Band-Aid Josh Gordon over the problems, when you're hoping to Band-Aid Johnny Manziel over the problem, when you're hoping to Band-Aid Paul Kruger over the problem, that's what it is. It's a Band-Aid. It's not a cure. It's not a panacea. It's not, any major surgical or medical implement. But what it is, it's a Band-Aid. It's a stopgap because the Cleveland Browns are dysfunctional as a football family, as a football team. They should be disbanded. They should move again. That's how bad they are because you thought that Ray Farmer had it all together. Well, he doesn't. Listen, when you select Johnny Manziel in the first round in a year where everybody is extremely polarized about that player, then that you're setting yourself up for the worst kind of failure. That's failure because you are, I gotta say it, dumb. You don't know your job. You can't possibly be qualified because when you take a player that's clearly not able to play NFL football that highly, then the thought don't go to the player. The thought goes to who took this guy off the board with the character issues and the lack of, I guess, stereotypical physical skill that you need to play that position. He doesn't have a modicum of that. He's not mediocre at those things. He's not big. He's not fast. He's not strong. What does he do? He runs. So let's reason on it for a while. I could have made that pick from my couch in my office. Let's reason on it, okay? You take a 5'11", pipsqueak midget who runs around the field when it's chaos, and he makes some plays. Okay, fine. But Cam Newton can't do it. Colin Kaepernick can't do it. Nobody, Bobby Douglas couldn't do it. Nobody could really do that. Nobody could play that style of football. Have you seen somebody do that to the degree that it needs to be done? No. Okay. Well, it can't be done. But they want to continue to redesign the paradigm. It's impossible. So the problem I have with the Cleveland Browns is their culture is so discombobulated that you have to erase it and start all over. And not just erase it, not just obliterate it. You have to start it from scratch with none of the people who are in-house. You got to get Jimmy Haslam to say, listen, I don't have anything to say. My name is Wes, and I'm not in this mess. He got to be so far removed from any operational situation that it doesn't make any sense. You got to hail him with a cab to find him somewhere on the team's roster other than I write the checks. Because the football people that you have, the people that set the tone for the organization, they got to know what real NFL football looks like. And this, more importantly, they have to know what real Cleveland Browns football looks like. It doesn't look like this. Dysfunctional characters that carried on from season to season. Didn't have it. Didn't have dysfunctional football on the field that carried on from season to season. It wasn't available. It didn't have a connotation when you, excuse me, when you spoke of it, it conjured up thoughts of dysfunction, disunity. It didn't do that. So you got to get somebody who knows Cleveland Browns football, who knows football, can work in concert with somebody who can set the tone and set the spirit around the building so that they can get about the business of getting a football team together. Not just finding a quarterback. Yeah, you'd love to find a quarterback. But if anybody would have told me that they would have removed the quarterback in the middle of a playoff race for Johnny Manziel, unproven, untried, untalented, I would have said no. Yet, that's just what they did. Down the stretch of a playoff run. Now, tell me when last time you saw that.
But let me tell you, that's where the Browns are so screwed up internally. I had a guy on the business side of things who literally, when you ask him his thoughts on the Browns season this year, it's how much money that got left on the table with the other aspects of business. There's I'm telling you, there's such a divide, and like you said, that's the thing that you can't overcome, because you got football people looking at it one way, you got other people looking at it a different way, and you know what, I keep going back to your quote from earlier this season on Ray Farmer in a way that was meant to defend him, but now it almost indicts him at the same time. I'll never forget it when you said, if Ray Farmer can look at you in the eye and tell you that he believes Johnny Manziel is going to be an NFL quarterback, he's being intellectually dishonest with you, because I know that there's no way that man believes that. And I'm telling you, that continues to ring in my head to this day when I look at the draft and I say, man, he really did some good things in the other rounds. He worked on building the line a bit. He found some pieces practices. But he how could you do that and then go so